All right, we have Ellie here for Tough Teams. Thanks so much for doing this. I'm super excited that I get to interview you. Um, can you start off with a little introduction? The standard like high school stand up in front of your class. Your name. What do you do here at Tough? And maybe like your favorite ice cream. I don't know. I think that's a good icebreaker.
All right. Um, Hi, class. My name is Ellie. I'm a creative strategist here at Tuff. I manage a lot of the ad production here. Live about 60 miles outside of Portland, Oregon. And instead of ice cream, I'll opt in for an extra glass of wine every time.
Okay, that's a fair answer.
Yeah.
All right, so my first question for you, you and I talk about music pretty often. We're kind of sending each other music back and forth on Slack. Um, I use music more to stay productive, but I'm curious if you use music or any other, we could actually open this up to other mediums, any other form of art for inspiration while you're working with different forms of creative.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's the absolutely magical part of music is that putting on a song can totally change the way that you feel, that you think, the sort of the way you wrap yourself in a song can really just like help you reframe whatever's going on. So I do love I have like a handful of different playlists. And each fits a perfect mood. So I have like a one that helps me like get into that deep focus if I'm trying to shut everything out, one that just like stirs up the creative ideas if I'm really like ready to get energized and excited. But I would definitely say um music helps a lot. And also it feels kind of counterproductive, but like there's so many brilliant creative people on TikTok, and I love just scrolling TikTok a little bit, and it's like
Absolutely.
surprisingly way more inspirational than any other social media channel out there, like far and away, I'd say.
Yeah, no, I feel like that makes sense with TikTok. It seems a lot more focused on like learning and kind of teaching each other things in a lot of ways. So that's cool.
The trick is to just like pull yourself away before you end up thinking like a half an hour into it and be like, where did that half hour go?
Set a time limit. You set your time
Yeah,
limits on your phone. Yeah.
exactly.
um, awesome, awesome. So one really underrated aspect of your job, I think, is your work that you do with value props. I've seen this like impact. I've seen this firsthand. Impact clients we work with. Would you be able to kind of just explain maybe what value props are, and then like what that process looks like for you on a client per client basis?
Yeah, I came part of my background, I came from a pretty traditional creative agency where I was in charge of writing a lot of brand books and tone and voice. But I kept having this experience where I'd hand off a brand book or a tone document and kind of get this sort of glazed look on like, okay, how do we use this? What do we do with it? So having this opportunity to rethink that at Tough, because I think that that's something that's I really appreciate about Tough is that no work ends up not being actionable or useful or revenue driving. So rethinking how to help an organization identify the way that it talks about itself in a way that we can translate to ad copy, no matter the channel. And I think in a way it really starts with empathy and a sort of like extreme curiosity on what is this problem that this person's having and what is the founder's way of eloquently solving that goal with this whole, why does a founder wake up every morning and believe in what they're doing? And so to capture both sides of that coin with value props, a problem that somebody's poignantly feeling, and then an eloquent solution in a way that feels compelling and easy to understand and sort of light bulb moment. I'd say that that's like the two parts that come together that make a strong value prop.
It's really cool that it can translate into just about every side of the business, right? Whether it's PPC or obviously social and things like that. So yeah, that's why I love watching you work with those specifically. Um,
Thank you.
so you've helped build this creative team now that I think has 6 members, if I counted correctly. Um, and also, I don't think that this was even a team a handful of months ago. So this is like a very new thing. The team used to be you, and then I think Megan. Um, but I'm kind of just curious. about your experience kind of building this team, and maybe like the differences between besides workload, but the differences between having a team to brainstorm. I mean, I feel like creative is is really beneficial when you have other eyeballs and people to bounce things off of.
Yeah, I had this experience yesterday, actually. I was on LinkedIn tooling around, and realized that I've now spent equal amount of time at Tuff as a growth marketer as I have as a creative strategist. So 8 months
Wow.
on both sides of that fence there. I really appreciated and loved my experience as a growth marketer. I learned so much, especially coming straight from a slow moving creative agency, to have the opportunity to jump in and drive strategy and sort of like lead a bunch of technical smarties. That was an amazing experience. But I started having this experience as, you know, Tuff was growing at an absolutely immense rate. At the same time, I was growing as a growth marketer at Tuff. And I feel like there was a moment where I kind of got outpaced, where Tuff really needed growth marketers that had more of a historical like experience and a lot more like technical experience. And so it sort of kind of there was this moment of a sort of wrinkle of being like, all right, I feel like there's some sort of evolution that needs to happen. And it just so happened that Ellen and I were like, well, there are a handful of clients or new prospects that are asking about if we make ad creative. The grand question is, do we? And I was like, yes, we could. I could do that. Um, and so it really was this sort of almost, it laid itself in front of us a little bit, but there was a moment where we're like, is it the right thing to reach out and grab it? Lots of faith, lots of trust in each other and the process. And I think, like, looking back 8 months ago now, back to June, I'm like, okay, yeah, it ended up being the right thing. It made sense. Um, and yeah, the first part of your question is having this team grow has been an absolutely incredible and humbling experience. I think that it's so reflected in the quality of our creative and the diversity of our creative thinking. Um, I mean, it's just and then there's the experience of having Kelly now on the team. I've never worked with another writer. And
Right.
so having her brain to start getting into the mix too, it's just, um, I think we're going to keep seeing the quality of creative skyrocket. And I cannot wait to see where we are in another 8 months.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's so exciting. I mean, watching all of Tough Grow, but creative especially, just because you guys can touch so many different sides of business. Um, okay, my last one, and I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. You're a big mountain biker, you're a big skier, things that I've never done, so I know nothing about them. Um, but I guess how did you get into these more so extreme sports? And then what would be your favorite place to ski and or to mountain bike?
Yeah, well, I love it. I'm sitting in my parents' house right now in Denver, and this is where it all started. Both of my parents ended up moving from out of state to Colorado. They didn't know each other, but they both moved to Colorado to ski more, be closer to the mountains.
Incredible.
Yeah, and so when I was like a tiny little like 2-year old, my dad plopped me on skis for the first time. And the rule was, if you want to go through there's like this like fairy forest that they set up for the kids at all the ski resorts that's like fun and it has little cardboard cutouts and whatever. And the rule was you had to do one bump run in between every run through the enchanted forest.
Oh my gosh.
So it was definitely like, when you're a kid too, you just don't have that radar for fear. So I definitely feel like I was lucky to have that sort of perspective and upbringing. Um, and then I live now in the Columbia River Gorge outside of Portland, and it's sort of this. I think it's magical, but it's sort of like this destination for a lot of different types of activities. So there's a lot of mountain biking nearby, a lot of skiing nearby, whitewater kayaking, hiking, trail running, like fishing, windsurfing. And so I'd say my favorite place to do all of the above is a place that feels like home. And so that's definitely what one of a handful of reasons that brought me to the area, and what kept me there was the community that I found on my bike and on my skis with a numerous number of high quality people that do the same.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, I mean, if it's in your own backyard,
Yeah.
I feel like that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Um, well, that's all I have. Thank you. This
Thank
was a
you.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, this is, I don't know, I'm not sure which episode this will be for Tough Teams, but it's one of them.
Yeah. Thanks, Jesse.